Today, we're making a deeply savoury one-pot mushroom rice inspired by Cajun brown-style jambalaya. We start with the mushrooms. Hot pan with a thin layer of high smoke point neutral oil. Mushrooms in. You want just enough to form a thin layer, so we'll do this in batches. What we want to achieve is first to rapidly evaporate the surface moisture. Mushrooms are around 90% water. No matter how hot the pan, they will dump at least 5% of their moisture, bringing the pan straight down to boiling point. So we let them boil, concentrating the earthy umami at the same time. Once the surface is dry, not the inside, we start to climb the temperature ladder, developing complex, savoury flavours via the Maillard reaction. Once we get to this stage, we try not to move them. We want some of this Maillard goodness to stick to the bottom of our pan, allowing the direct heat to continue developing flavours while we brown the rest. We're using mostly chestnut mushrooms today as they stick beautifully with the addition of king oyster for meaty chew, shiitake for that deep, earthy umami. But use whatever you like. This dish will be amazing with just button mushrooms. After quite a while, we have a caramel-looking pot without caramelization. That's because mushrooms lack the natural sugar. We fix that by separating the holy trinity. Onions in first to release their moisture, lifting all these beautiful flavors we just built, at the same time evaporating their natural moisture, concentrating the savory background and subtle sweetness. Once there's not much steam coming out and you can see a clean-ish bottom, we once again climb the temperature ladder, caramelizing the natural sugars, developing some nutty complexity. Had we kept the trinity together, it would dump way too much liquid for this to meaningfully happen. Once you have a layer of caramel, we want moisture. Bell pepper in to lift the fond. While it doesn't caramelize like onion, we want to really cook it down to remove the sharpness and concentrate that earthy sweetness, which will work extremely well with our mushrooms. Once you can no longer see the vibrant green color, celery in, and we want to cook it just enough to evaporate most of its water content, but keeping some of its vibrant herbal notes. Now, garlic in to reinforce our savory base and later develop some caramelized sweetness. Of course, garlic is itself an excellent fond creator. When we add it at this stage to have more control so the natural sugars don't burn. Now, optional texture and umami boost. We have some dried shiitake, but you can use any dried mushroom, soaked to rehydrate, then chopped finely. Flesh goes in now to impart a ton of umami and give us some wonderful texture. We save the soaking liquid for later. If you don't have access to dried mushrooms, a good alternative would be vegan oyster sauce, usually made from mushroom extracts that would give you a similar umami boost. Now that moisture is no longer a consideration, we season for the first time with salt, with the whole dish in mind. Bay leaf goes in earlier than usual to bloom, activating its fat-soluble eucalyptus mint-like notes. Same logic. Dried thyme for some earthy herbal note. Building on the earthiness, black pepper for some heat. Building on the heat, cayenne for some sharper heat. Optional, smoked paprika for some smoky complexity. Again, the recipe is just a guideline. Feel free to use anything you fancy. Now, unless you have a tried and tested recipe, if you want to prevent clumping, always rise before liquid. And at this point, stirring is encouraged because what you want to achieve is to coat each grain with our very yummy fat, top up with a bit of oil if necessary. This will slow down starch release when we do introduce the liquid, reducing the likelihood of clumping, with the added benefit of getting some toasted, nutty notes. Don't worry too much about lifting or the fond, because whatever we don't lift, the rice will stick to that. Now, soaking liquid, stock or water, up to you. We want to aim for 1.7 to 1 ratio, the 1 being the dry rice. Liquid in, no more stirring allowed. Now, 2 options for our mushrooms. If you want the most integrated flavor, they go on top now to slowly drizzle their juices. If you want to solve for texture, they go in just before resting. Today, for the purpose of demonstration, we go half and half. Now we bring this back to a gentle boil. Lid on, lowest possible heat, 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we quickly add the other half to warm through. Stove off, lid back on, 5-minute rest. Now, look at that. We tilt to inspect for excess moisture. You can reduce further if need be. The coating has done its job to prevent clumping. Now we fluff to release trapped steam. Look at the residual fond, beautifully mopped up by our now very, very flavoursome rice. And this is mushroom rice inspired by Cajun Jambalaya.